Hi, I'm Bill Werde, editorial director of Billboard. I'm excited to be here today with Sugarland, Jennifer, and Christian. This is the Billboard Live Q&A sponsored by AT&T Code Scanner. You can come back tomorrow to see behind-the-scenes footage from this interview using the AT&T Code Scanner service. You can get that at http://scan.mobi. So, now that we've got that out of the way, congratulations on your new album, #1 on the Billboard charts last week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Fantastic new album. Tell me a little bit about your thoughts on the recording of it and what went into kind of making it a reality.
Well, it's called The Incredible Machine. We'll start with that. And, we had a lot of fun. Mostly, I think we had a lot of fun writing this record from the beginning. And I think when the songs are there and when the music is there, then that shows up in the recording process as well.
It dictates the whole process, the writing of a record. And we have written in piece and part all of our records. And it's an institution in Nashville that a lot of times the writing is separate from the performing. A lot of times Nashville, I guess through the last 30 or 40 years, has been built in this wonderful community of songwriters. And we've been kind of welcomed in as songwriters as well as artists. Mm-hmm. So this is more an example, this whole album is, of what happens with the two of us just writing a song.
And we had fun playing around with different influences. We had fun with the 80s. We had fun with pulling from, influences from our childhood, Blondie and Peter Gabriel and Chrissy Hines and
oh yeah, I mean you can hear the Clash in this thing. I mean it's
pretty
neat.
It's a great album. Now, you guys, we're going to have people tweeting questions to us at billboard.com. One of the things that everyone has already been asking is a little bit about sort of your dynamic when it comes time to make the album, sort of like, what do you do kind of thing. How does that work? Are you guys together and, lab coats kind of hammering things out, or what's a typical recording process on one of your songs?
Well, one of the great things that we had on this record is we had a documentary film that was made during the recording of it. So you can actually go as a fan right now
and see
and watch us do it.
Oh, that's great.
And
on your website?
Yeah, and you can the
website. It's on the deluxe album.
Also on the deluxe album, of course.
Which I think you can get right now from iTunes. You can download that.
Deluxe as well,
we made a kind of a new idea, a thing called the living liner notes, because we love liner notes so much, and we were those kinds of kids,
So did you actually tape the? Did you actually kind of create those and walk people through the songs and that?
And we walk you through the song, and you get to watch us. I think even I remember the one for Find the Beat Again. You're watching us write it.
Yeah.
And then you're watching us record it, and then you're watching it happen. So instead of just seeing a name or something that says, oh, so-and-so's the engineer and so-and-so was the drummer, well, here they are.
Yeah.
Watch them.
Well, and the cool part about it is I think a lot of times people have a lot of interest in the mystery behind creation. I think the creative process, regardless of what it is, be it an album or a painting or a child or whatever, that there's a lot of mystery involved in that, because I think we all recognize that there's an otherworldliness that contributes to a creation. And so consequently, with this documentary, we at least wanted to pull back the curtain a little bit on some of that mystery within the studio process, and to more specifically answer your question of our studio dynamic, or your question of our studio dynamic. We each have our strengths, but we've both been making records for a long time. Christian since he was a child even, and he's very, very good at it, and tends to take a lot of the logistic reins and the detailed reins of that, and I tend to sit back and look at the big picture and interject.
Yeah, it's a really great process producing records and making records with you.
It
is. No, it is. It's a lot of fun because
it's nice to see bands that get along, right?
Right.
No behind the music moment here.
I'll tell you, there's some beautiful stuff. One of the things that happened on this record is we decided to try to make our weaknesses our strengths in a lot of ways. We had this conversation. We were like, okay, well, I was feeling anxious about singing, and Jennifer's like, how about you sing this song, and
or for example the guitar. I love the way Christian plays guitar when I sing. I love his choices. I love the way he fits his choices in around how I sing, and we've been doing it now together long enough that there's a really nice volley with that and a nice way that it dances together. And so
you guys are completing each other's sentences here, so I feel like
we're a little bit of old folks in the old folks
back home. We crack up is this really us? But we are them. But I said to him why don't you just play it? Like, why are we getting a guitar player? We have a guitar player, and we've been lucky to work with some fantastic guitar players. But I think what Christian brings to the table is such a knowledge of how we work together that everything feels so organic in each one of these songs. It fits perfectly.
I want to ask you, a lot of artists, you guys have always taken chances with your music. I mean, you just have, I think it's not so much taking chances as much as you just have the influences you have, and it sort of naturally finds its way into your songs. But it certainly pushes at the boundaries of what some people consider, quote-unquote traditional country music. Is that right? I mean, is it just kind of the way it is? That's the music it's the music you love. These are the sounds that come into your heads, and so that's what winds up on the album. Well, that's a good question right there. How do you feel about that?
I think it's just the music that we love and the influences that we have experienced throughout our artistic lives and what inspires us. And at the same time, we trust our fans and they trust us. I think we've established sort of a climate of artistic growth and expression and evolution from the beginning as writers. They know we're writers. They know each record is supposed to be different,
rather than knowing that they're supposed to be the same.
Right.
They
Well, that's
know
really
to
where I
expect
was going
that.
with the question, because honestly, a lot of artists, they get to their third, fourth album, and they've already had multi-platinum success. The real temptation, not only from the artist, but everyone around the artist, is to kind of, go make Stay again, do that thing. And this might be your most adventuresome album yet in terms of the sounds and the recording.
I think so, and I think consequently it's going to take us even further than we have been up until now. But because of that. I mean, and we love all these songs, and I love that, for example, you said Stay. I love that people love it, but we've already recorded that one. You want to go hear that, go listen to that record,
Or come to the show.
And you get to hear, all those hits. But
Right. Tell me a little bit about being a woman in country music. Lately, especially on radio, it's actually, in spite of all the success of like Taylor Swift, there aren't a lot of solo women or groups fronted by women that are really having a ton of success right now. How do you, is that something you're aware of? Do you feel like there's anything that needs to change in that space? Or
no, I mean, I think I'm more aware of it for other people than I am for what I experience myself. I've gotten this question before of what it's like to be a woman, and do I feel any limitations, or do I feel a glass ceiling or whatever it may be within this specific industry? And no, I don't. I don't see a boundary like that.
Just doing your thing.
Yeah, and I feel like I can bring it, as much as any guy can, and if you want to go out there and go head to head with me on the stage, I'll take you up on it. You know what I'm saying?
Do it. No, it's good.
It's all good, and there's space for everybody. And it's a shame when possibly Politic or Good Old Boy Network might get in the way of other women being able to be their most successful. But I don't consider it as far as I just don't consider it. I know I'm a woman.
Right.
But I don't consider that in terms of my work.
And Christian, what's it like for you to be a woman in this business?
That's very different.
It's really personal to me, and I have
You're
a hard
like, I
time
know what you
talking
mean,
about
Jennifer.
it a lot of times. No, but I will tell you this though, as having be the guy in the passenger seat on these kinds of questions all the time, it's fascinating to me to see. Jennifer, when you perform and when we're writing and we're translating into culture, that you're the voice for many women, right? So this is part of that question, and the reverse is never true. The reverse is not, Kenny, you're the voice of every man.
Right.
Tim, you're not the voice of every man.
It's a little bit of a kind of a pressure that's put
upon you. They can play roles as they go. That this song is the voice of every person. Like Kenny write a song, and I'm like, oh, that's the voice of me as a dad.
Yeah.
And this is the voice of me as a husband, or me as a college kid, or whoever it is. But there's so much pressure that's put kind of on the voice of women to be the one for all, because there's so few as you get further and further up. Is Reba the voice of every woman?
Right.
And how does it play? But I've been fascinated that how many men are huge fans of what we do.
Yeah.
And how many women are as well.
Well, you guys did that live stream for Vivo a few weeks ago, and you had a packed house up here at the Best Buy Theater in Times Square in New York, and I was curious to see who was going to be in the audience, because New York doesn't have a country radio station right now, which shame on New York, but I was surprised, because there were a lot of guys in the audience, and B, you know, even
all singing along.
They were all singing
love
along,
it.
even to some of the songs that you think of. Well, that is the voice of a woman, you know.
Clearly.
And here were these guys; they were just feeling the music, so it was great to see.
Well, I think part of that too is that regardless of whether or not I'm the channel or the voice for these characters, really what you try to do as a writer and as any sort of artist is to make emotion tangible.
Yeah.
And so that emotion should speak to the human spirit,
Yeah.
regardless of the gender of that person.
Take the personal and make it universal. Take it and
Yeah.
get it out there so that
And
people
it
can all
is
relate to it.
It is that. Because
Yeah.
whether or not you might relate to the words baby girl, whether or not you were a baby girl in your life,
Yeah, I wasn't.
you definitely relate, though, to the idea of having
That's right.
come up with a dream and have your family support you, and then suddenly, you know, good guy, you know, does well. And I don't know. I think everybody can relate to the emotion of it regardless.